Hello, I'm David Merritt with IFS Coatings. In this video, we're going to be talking about textured finishes. Textured finishes can be formulated in a host of different types of chemistries and colors. They can be very fine or they can be very coarse, depending on what the customer's needs and expectations are. General tips for applying textures. You always want to be sure that you have a properly prepared substrate. No oil, grease, dirt of any type on the substrate, because it can affect the way a texture forms on the substrate. With texture finishes, you need to have a good ground. This will eliminate some of the issues with back ionization, and will also allow it to be a more consistent finish over your substrate. You also want to be sure to have a good fluidizing hopper when you apply these products. If you're using a box feeder, you want to be sure that you have a good, consistent application, especially as it's being applied via the spray gun. You don't want it to spit, surge, because you can run into inconsistent film builds, and you can also have problems with back ionization. Prior to applying these products, you also would like to check the equipment, make sure that there's no worn parts, that everything is working properly so you get a good, consistent finish. It's also a good idea to set up some kind of a process where you can achieve a good, consistent spray. You want to be sure that you use the same pressures, gun to part distance when you're applying these products. You also want to be sure that you look at a TDS to apply these products properly. It will give you a starting point on the KVs. It can also give you the proper cure schedule for these different products. But please remember that the peak metal temperature is what you're trying to achieve. That basically means that you need to have the part get up to temperature and hold it at that temperature for the specified time. Please remember when applying textured finishes that they are terribly abrasive. So checking the wear parts both in the pumps and inside the guns and even the hoses is always very important when applying these finishes. When applying textures, you want to be sure that you have a good, consistent finish, because they can go from a fine texture to a very coarse texture. So during the application, you want to set up a group of standards that would help you apply and be consistent with these types of finishes. When applying textures, you also want to be sure that you have your gun settings at the most efficient for the application. You got powder feed, and then you also have the atomization pressure settings all right here. When applying textures and you're setting your KVs and microamps, you want to be sure that you have a good, consistent application where you're putting on an equal amount over the entire substrate. We have a great selection of colors and textures, so please check out our color card.